The nightclub pulsed like a living thing, its heartbeat a relentless bass that shook the walls and rattled Elena's nerves. She stood at the edge of the bar, clutching a half-empty glass of wine, her emerald dress clinging to her like a second skin until it didn't. A careless dancer's heel caught the hem, tearing it with a sickening rip that exposed her thigh and her fragile confidence. Elena froze, the world slowing as eyes turned toward her. The tear wasn't just fabric. It was her armor, her carefully constructed shield against a night she hadn't wanted to face. She'd come to the Velvet Room, a trendy Chicago hotspot, for a quiet drink to escape her spiraling thoughts, not to become the center of attention. "Are you okay?" A voice cut through the noise, low and steady, like a lifeline thrown into choppy waters. Elena looked up to meet dark, intense eyes belonging to a woman leaning against the bar. She was striking short black hair, sharp cheekbones, and a tailored blazer that screamed confidence. Her gaze held no pity, only concern, and something else Elena couldn't place. "I'm fine," Elena lied, her voice barely audible over the music. She tugged at her dress, trying to cover the tear, her cheeks burning. "Just not my night." The woman tilted her head, a small smile playing on her lips. "Looks like your dress has other plans. Come with me." Before Elena could protest, the woman took her hand, her grip firm yet gentle, and led her through the crowd to a quieter corner near the back. The air there was cooler, the music a distant hum, and Elena's racing heart began to steady. "I'm Maya," the woman said, releasing Elena's hand but staying close. "And you look like you could use a rescue." Elena laughed, a shaky sound that surprised her. "Is it that obvious?" "I'm Elena." She glanced down at her ruined dress, then back at Maya, whose presence felt like a shield against the world. "I don't usually do this, clubs, crowds, all of it." Maya raised an eyebrow, her smile deepening. "Then why tonight?" Elena hesitated. How could she explain the ache in her chest, the weight of her family's expectations, the suffocating pressure of pretending to be someone she wasn't? Her parents' voices echoed in her mind, urging her to settle down with a nice man, to fit into their perfect suburban mold. She'd come here to drown those voices, if only for a few hours. "I needed to breathe," Elena said finally, her voice soft but honest. "And then my dress decided to betray me." Maya chuckled, her eyes softening. "Well, dresses are overrated. You don't need one to own this place." She reached into her bag and pulled out a sleek black scarf, handing it to Elena. "Here. Wrap it around. It'll hold until you're ready to ditch this scene." Elena took the scarf, her fingers brushing Maya's. The touch sent a spark through her, unexpected and electric. She wrapped the scarf around her waist, tying it into a makeshift skirt, and looked up to find Maya watching her with an intensity that made her breath catch. "Thank you," Elena said, meaning it more than she could express. "You didn't have to do that." Maya shrugged, but her eyes never left Elena's. "Maybe I wanted to." The moment stretched, charged with something neither of them named. The club's chaos faded, leaving only the two of them in this quiet corner, the air thick with possibility. Elena's heart pounded, not from embarrassment now, but from the pull she felt toward this stranger who'd seen her vulnerability and stayed. "Do you want to get out of here?" Maya asked, her voice low, almost a challenge. "There's a diner down the street." No dress code, no judgment. Elena's instinct was to say no, to retreat to the safety of her apartment and her predictable life. But something in Maya's gaze, steady, fearless, made her want to take the risk. "Okay," she said, surprising herself. "Let's go." They slipped out of the club into the cool Chicago night, the city's lights glittering like stars against the skyline. The diner was a neon-lit haven, its booths worn but welcoming. Over greasy fries and too strong coffee, Elena found herself opening up to Maya in a way she hadn't with anyone in years. She talked about her job as a graphic designer, her love for sketching quiet moments in loud cities, and tentatively, the pressure she felt to live a life that didn't feel like hers. Maya listened, her dark eyes never wavering. She shared her own story. In return, she was a freelance photographer, always chasing the next shot, the next story. She'd grown up in a small town, where being openly queer had been a battle she'd fought and won. Her confidence wasn't arrogance. It was hard-earned, forged in defiance of a world that tried to box her in. "You're brave," Elena said, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't know if I could do that. Maya leaned forward, her hand resting close to Elena's on the table. You're here, aren't you? That's brave. The words hit Elena like a wave, stirring something deep inside her. She'd spent so long hiding, afraid of what it meant to want something outside her family's expectations. But sitting across from Maya, she felt seen, not as the perfect daughter or the quiet artist, but as herself. As the night wore on, the diner's fluorescent lights seemed to soften, and the space between them grew smaller. When their hands finally touched, it wasn't an accident. Maya's fingers curled around Elena's, warm and sure, and Elena didn't pull away. But as the clock ticked past midnight, reality crept back in. Elena's phone buzzed with a text from her sister. Mom's asking when you're bringing someone home. Don't mess this up. The words were a cold splash of water, a reminder of the life waiting for her outside this diner. This moment. Maya noticed the shift in Elena's expression. Everything okay? Elena forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Just family stuff. Maya didn't push, but her grip on Elena's hand tightened slightly, a silent promise. You don't have to face it alone, you know. Elena wanted to believe her. But as they left the diner, the weight of her family's expectations settled back onto her shoulders. She didn't know if she was ready to fight for this for Maya, for herself. But for the first time she wanted to try. The next morning, Elena woke to sunlight streaming through her apartment window, her mind replaying the night before. Maya's laugh, the warmth of her hand, the way her eyes seemed to see straight through Elena's defense, it all felt like a dream, too vivid to be real. But the black scarf still draped over her chair was proof it had happened. She reached for her phone, hesitating before typing a message to the number Maya had given her. Thanks for last night. I had fun. Her thumb hovered over the send button, doubt creeping in. What was she doing? Maya was bold, unapologetic, everything Elena wasn't. Could she really step into a world where she'd have to face her fears head-on? Before she could overthink it, she hit send. Maya's reply came almost instantly. Good. 'Cause I want to see you again. Coffee this afternoon? Elena's heart skipped, a mix of excitement and terror. She typed back a quick yes and spent the next hour agonizing over what to wear, settling on jeans and a soft sweater, simple, safe, but still herself. They met at a cozy cafe in Wicker Park, its walls lined with local art, and the air thick with the scent of roasted coffee. Maya was already there, leaning back in her chair, a camera resting on the table. She wore a leather jacket and a grin that made Elena's stomach flip. You look different without the dress drama, Maya teased, her eyes sparkling. But just as good. Elena blushed, sliding into the seat across from her. I'm trying to avoid any more wardrobe malfunctions. They fell into easy conversation, trading stories about their lives. Maya talked about her latest photography project, capturing the raw energy of Chicago's street performers. Elena shared her sketches, pulling out her notebook to show Maya a drawing of the city skyline at dusk. Maya's fingers lingered on the page, her admiration genuine. You're talented, Maya said, her voice soft but serious. You should show these to someone. They're alive. Elena shrugged and used to praise. They're just sketches. I don't know if they're good enough. They're you, Maya said simply. That's enough. The words stayed with Elena, warming her even as the conversation shifted. But the warmth faded when her phone buzzed again, another text from her sister, this time with a photo of a nice guy their parents wanted her to meet. Dinner tomorrow. Be there. Elena's chest tightened, the cafe's cozy walls suddenly feeling too close. Maya noticed. Family again? Elena nodded, her throat tight. They want me to be someone I'm not. They don't even know. She trailed off, unable to say the words. That she was questioning everything she'd been taught about love, about who she was allowed to want. Maya reached across the table, her hand covering Elena's. You don't have to tell them until you're ready. But you don't have to hide from me. Elena wanted to hold on to that promise, but fear gnawed at her. What if she wasn't ready? What if she never was? The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur of laughter and stolen glances, but the weight of her family's expectations lingered. Over the next few days, Elena and Maya grew closer. They explored Chicago together, quiet bookstores, bustling markets, hidden parks where they could talk for hours. Maya's confidence was contagious, and Elena found herself laughing more, sketching more, feeling more alive than she had in years. But every moment with Maya was tinged with the dread of the dinner her family had planned. The night of the dinner arrived too soon. Elena stood in front of her mirror, dressed in a modest blouse her mother would approve of, her stomach in knots. She hadn't told Maya about it, hadn't wanted to admit how much she was still tethered to her family's expectations. But as she sat at the restaurant table, her parents beaming at the man across from her, a polite, bland accountant named David, she felt like she was drowning. David was nice enough, but his small talk grated against her. Every word felt like a betrayal of the person she was becoming with Maya. When her mother leaned over and whispered, "He's perfect for you," Elena's hands clenched under the table. She excused herself, fleeing to the bathroom, where she pulled out her phone and texted Maya, "I can't do this." Tears stung her eyes as she hit send, not expecting a reply. But her phone buzzed almost instantly. "Where are you? I'm coming to get you." Elena's heart raced. She gave Maya the address, her hands trembling. 20 minutes later, she slipped out of the restaurant, ignoring her mother's confused calls. Maya was waiting outside, leaning against her motorcycle, her expression a mix of worry and determination. "Get on," Maya said, handing Elena a helmet. "You don't have to go back." Elena hesitated, the restaurant's lights glowing behind her, her family's voices echoing in her head. But Maya's steady gaze anchored her. She took the helmet, climbed onto the bike, and wrapped her arms around Maya's waist as they sped into the night. The city blurred past, the wind carrying away Elena's doubts, if only for a moment. They ended up at Maya's small studio apartment, filled with photographs pinned to the walls and the faint scent of developing chemicals. Maya didn't ask questions, didn't push. She just handed Elena a glass of water and sat beside her on the couch, their shoulders touching. "I don't know how to do this," Elena admitted, her voice breaking. "I want to be brave like you, but I'm scared." Maya turned to her, her eyes fierce yet tender. "You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to keep choosing yourself." Elena looked at Maya, at the woman who'd crashed into her life and made her question everything. And in that moment she chose. She leaned forward, closing the distance between them, and kissed Maya. It was soft, tentative, but it felt like coming home. The kiss lingered, a spark that ignited something deep within Elena. Maya's lips were warm, her hands steady as they cupped Elena's face, grounding her in a moment that felt both terrifying and right. When they pulled apart, Elena's breath was shaky, but her heart was certain she wanted this, wanted Maya, even if the path ahead was uncertain. They spent the night talking, curled up on Maya's couch, the city's hum a soft backdrop. Maya shared stories of her own coming out, the fights with her family, the freedom she'd found in living authentically. Elena listened, her fear mingling with hope. Could she find that freedom too? But reality crashed in with the morning light. Elena's phone was flooded with missed calls and texts from her parents, each one more insistent than the last. "Where are you? You embarrassed us." Her mother's words stung, but it was her father's text that hit hardest. "We just want what's best for you. Come home." Elena stared at the screen, guilt twisting in her chest. Maya, sensing her turmoil, sat beside her. "You don't have to decide everything now," she said softly. "But you can't keep running from them or yourself." Elena nodded, but the weight of her family's expectations felt heavier than ever. She left Maya's apartment with a promise to call, her mind a tangle of emotions. Back at her own place, she tried to focus on work, sketching designs for a new client, but her thoughts kept drifting to Maya's smile, her touch, the way she made Elena feel seen. Over the next week, Elena and Maya saw each other every chance they got. They stole moments in crowded cafes, shared quiet walks along Lake Michigan, and spent late nights in Maya's studio, where Elena felt free to be herself. But each moment was shadowed by the looming confrontation with her family. She hadn't responded to their texts, hadn't gone home, and the silence was growing louder. One evening, as they sat on a park bench watching the sunset, Maya turned to Elena. "What do you want, Elena? Not what they want, not what's safe, what do you want?" Elena's throat tightened. She wanted to say you, but the word caught, tangled in years of fear and shame. "I want to be happy," she said finally. "But I don't know if I'm allowed to be." Maya's expression softened, but there was a fire in her eyes. "You don't need permission to be who you are." But you do need to fight for it. The words stayed with Elena, but so did the fear. That night, she lay awake, torn between the life she'd always known and the one she was beginning to imagine with Maya. The next morning, she made a decision she'd go to her parents' house and tell them the truth. Not all of it, not yet, but enough to start. The drive to the suburbs was a blur, her hands gripping the steering wheel as she rehearsed what she'd say. When she arrived, her parents were waiting, their faces a mix of relief and frustration. The living room, with its familiar furniture and family photos, felt like a stage for a performance she could no longer give. "Elena, what's going on?" her mother demanded. "You disappear, you ignore us, you leave poor David hanging. What's wrong with you?" Elena took a deep breath, her heart pounding. "I'm not who you think I am," she said, her voice trembling but clear. "I'm not interested in David, or any man you want me to meet. I'm figuring out who I am, and I need you to let me do that." Her father's face hardened. "This isn't you. You're confused, Elena. You've always been a good girl." The words cut deep, but they also sparked something in her, defiance she hadn't known she possessed. "I'm still me," she said, her voice growing stronger. "But I'm done pretending to be someone I'm not." The argument that followed was loud, tearful, and raw. Her parents didn't understand, didn't want to. They accused her of throwing away her future, of breaking their hearts. Elena left with tears streaming down her face, but also with a strange sense of relief. She'd taken the first step, even if it hurt. She drove straight to Maya's studio, her emotions a storm. Maya opened the door, took one look at Elena's tear-streaked face, and pulled her into a hug. "You did it," Maya whispered. "You're braver than you know." Elena clung to her, the weight of the day easing in Maya's arms. "They hate me," she said, her voice muffled against Maya's shoulder. "But I had to tell them." Maya pulled back, her eyes fierce. "They don't hate you. They're scared just like you were. Give them time." Elena wanted to believe her, but the pain was still fresh. They spent the evening together, Maya showing Elena her latest photos, each one a story of resilience and beauty. As Elena looked at them, she saw herself reflected, not the perfect daughter, but a woman learning to stand tall. But the peace didn't last. The next day, Elena's sister called, her voice cold. "Mom and Dad are talking about cutting you off if you don't come to your senses. You need to fix this, Elena." The threat hit hard. Elena's job barely covered her rent, and her parents had always been her safety net. The thought of losing them, not just their support, but their love, terrified her. She looked at Maya, who was editing photos across the room, and wondered if she was strong enough to choose this life, this love, over everything she'd known. Elena spent the next few days in a fog, torn between her heart and her fear. Maya was her anchor, her presence a reminder of what Elena could have if she dared to reach for it. But her sister's words echoed, a constant reminder of the cost. Cutting her off wouldn't just mean money, it would mean losing her family, her history, the only world she'd ever known. She and Maya continued to see each other, their connection deepening with every shared moment. One night, they went to an art gallery opening, Maya's camera slung around her neck as she captured candid shots of the crowd. Elena watched her move with purpose, her confidence magnetic, and felt a surge of pride and longing. But when Maya caught her staring and grinned, Elena's smile faltered. She couldn't shake the fear that this happiness was temporary, that her family's ultimatum would force her to choose. At the gallery, a woman approached Maya, praising her work and offering her a chance to showcase her photos at a bigger venue. Maya's eyes lit up, and Elena saw the future she could have, a life of passion, art, and freedom. But when Maya turned to her, excited to share the news, Elena's heart sank. Could she be part of that future? Or would she hold Maya back? That night, back at Maya's studio, Elena finally voiced her fears. "What if I can't do this?" she asked, her voice breaking. "What if I'm not strong enough to lose them?" Maya set down her camera, her expression serious. "You're stronger than you think, Elena. But this isn't about me or them, it's about you. What do you want your life to be?" Elena didn't have an answer, not yet. But she knew she didn't want to lose Maya. They kissed again, this time with a desperate edge, as if they could hold on to each other against the world. For a moment it was enough. The next day, Elena's mother called. Her voice was softer than before, but still firm. "We're having a family meeting tomorrow. You need to be there, Elena. We can work this out. Elena agreed, her stomach churning. She didn't tell Maya, not wanting to burden her with another round of family drama. But as she drove to her parents' house the next evening, she felt like she was walking into a storm. The meeting was tense, the air thick with unspoken accusations. Her parents sat across from her, her sister beside them, their faces a mix of worry and frustration. "We don't understand what's happening to you," her father said, "but we're willing to help you get back on track." Elena's heart pounded. "I'm not off track," she said, her voice steadier than she felt. "I'm trying to be honest with you and with myself. I think I'm in love with someone. A woman." The silence was deafening. Her mother's face crumpled, her father's hardened, and her sister looked away. "This isn't right," her mother whispered. "It's not what we raised you to be." The words were a knife, but Elena refused to let them cut too deep. "You raised me to be honest," she said. "And I'm telling you the truth. I love her, and I'm not going to pretend I don't." Her father stood, his voice cold. "If you choose this, you're choosing to walk away from us. We can't support that." Elena's vision blurred with tears, but she stood too, her resolve hardening. "I'm not walking away. I'm asking you to see meal of me. If you can't, that's your choice." She left before they could respond, her heart breaking but her steps sure. She drove to Maya's, tears streaming down her face, and when Maya opened the door, Elena fell into her arms. "I told them," she sobbed, "and they might never speak to me again." Maya held her tightly, her voice steady. "You're enough, Elena. You're more than enough." The next week was a blur of pain and healing. Elena threw herself into her work, sketching with a raw intensity she hadn't felt before. Maya was there through it all, her presence a quiet strength. They talked about the future, tentative plans to travel, to create together, to build a life that was theirs. But the fear lingered. Elena's family didn't call, didn't reach out. The silence was a wound that wouldn't heal, and though Maya's love was a balm, it couldn't erase the loss. Elena began to wonder if she'd made a mistake, if she'd thrown away too much for a love that was still so new. One evening as they walked through Millennium Park, Maya stopped and took Elena's hands. "I know you're scared," she said. "I know you're hurting. But you're not alone in this. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." Elena looked into Maya's eyes, seeing the promise there, the strength she needed to keep going. "I love you," she said, the words spilling out raw and true. Maya's smile was radiant. "I love you too." Months passed and Elena's life began to take shape in ways she'd never imagined. She and Maya moved in together, sharing a small apartment filled with art, laughter, and the quiet comfort of each other's presence. Elena's sketches gained attention, landing her a small gallery show, and Maya's photography career soared, her work featured in local magazines. Together they were building something real, something theirs. But the silence from Elena's family remained. She sent letters, left voicemails, hoping for a crack in their resolve, but none came. The pain was a constant ache, but Maya's love helped her carry it. They celebrated small victories, late-night dances in their living room, shared dreams of a future where they could be fully themselves. One crisp autumn day, Elena received an unexpected email from her sister. "Can we talk? Just you and me." Her heart raced as she agreed to meet at a neutral spot, a quiet park near her old neighborhood. She didn't tell Maya, not wanting to hope for too much. Her sister, Claire, was waiting on a bench, her expression guarded but softer than Elena remembered. "I've been thinking about what you said," Claire began, her voice hesitant. "I don't understand it, not completely, but I miss you. I don't want to lose you." Elena's throat tightened, tears welling up. "I miss you too. But I'm not going to change who I am." Claire nodded, her eyes glistening. "I know. I want to try. Can we start there?" It wasn't a full reconciliation, but it was a start. Elena hugged her sister, feeling a piece of her heart mend. She knew her parents might take longer, might never fully accept her, but this moment gave her hope. That night, Elena told Maya everything, her voice trembling with emotion. Maya listened, her hand in Elena's, and when she finished, Maya pulled her close. "You're building your own family now," she said. "And I'm so proud of you." Elena looked around their apartment, at the life they created, and realized Maya was right. She'd lost something, but she'd gained so much more, a love that saw her, A life that felt true. The torn dress that night at the club had been the start of it all. A small unraveling that led her to this moment, this love, this truth. As they stood together, watching the city lights from their window, Elena felt a peace she'd never known. The journey wasn't over, and there would be more battles to fight, but she wasn't alone. With Maya by her side, she could face anything. The story of that night at the club became their own legend, a reminder of how a single torn dress, a stranger's kindness could change everything. Elena had gone for a quiet drink, but she'd found so much more. Courage, love, and the strength to be herself. Thank you for listening. Like and subscribe to get notifications about next videos.